My name is Dylan CineMasai Green, and welcome to the Real Notes podcast. I speak with rappers, producers, journalists, and other hip-hop adjacent figures about their relationship with movies, and, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is New Jersey-based playlist curator, assistant music programmer for R&B, and lead music programmer for African and Caribbean music at Pandora, and co-creator and co-host of the Reasonable Dialogue podcast, Tatiana Snead. We spoke about the summer I turned pretty, the art of rewatching old movies, growing up in Jersey, her journey from aspiring singer to playlist curator to radio programmer, the music industry, and the creative process behind Reasonable Dialogue, and her new solo podcast, Raw Form. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. This is all a part of the flow. Welcome back to Real Notes. It's Friday. I don't know if people can notice, but my voice is kind of gone. I don't know what happened. It's like 2 octaves lower than it usually is, and I'm fine with that. My name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. I got a lot of names, do a lot of shit, outside, inside, all sides. It's the end of the week. Feeling good. There's few things I could think of that I'd rather be doing to end my week than talking to the person that we're talking to today. Fellow Jersey music warrior. Damn, like what are the things you do? You're the lead R&B African and Caribbean music programmer at Pandora, co-host of Reasonable Dialogue and Raw Form. You're a speaker, dreamer, singer. Like, I mean, you are a singer.
So. Oh my goodness! Listen, y'all.
Yeah.
I am not one of those. I couldn't get my career off the ground, so now I work in music as when I want to put that out there.
I'm sorry, that's not what I meant.
I'll be having to tell people though, because it's just like, oh, I saw that video of you singing, and you didn't see that video.
I get it. I just started making beats, so I don't want people to think that about me either.
No, that's different. I think beats is different. But like when you're doing singing and rapping, like you posting a rap video, nigga, you want to be a rapper or you a journalist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be a singer.
Hey, nah, okay, so not a singer, but Tatiana Snead, Jan Snead. Tatiana's here. Hi, T. Thank you so much for being here. This means a lot.
I appreciate you for having me. I'm like this. I feel like this is so long overdue.
Yeah,
we've been locked in for probably over like 5 years.
I feel like even longer than that. I was. Yeah, like to be honest, it might be closer to 10. Like I'm talking like you were at Audio Mac and I was at DJ Booth, and like we were kind of like running parallel for a little bit. And this might even, because we still never met in person, but this is our first time interfacing face to face in any way at all. So like this is, like you said, long time coming. So happy to be doing this. Like you do incredible work, and enjoy like across so many verticals. So just like thank you for all the work you do, and like I don't know how you do it all, but like I appreciate what you do. You know, the respect is up there.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. It's funny. I was telling my friend, I'm like, I'm so excited I'm doing this interview. And he's like, oh, he actually did Maya's interview, Maya the Don.
Yeah.
So like the respect is there too. I'm just like, I wish you were in more conversations when I see the conversation circulate around like hip hop journalists, because to me, you're like one of the top 10. So I'm when you reached out to me originally, like, I would love to have you on podcast, I was like floored. I'm like, well, I don't work in hip hop anymore, but okay.
You work in music, and you got like there, you know, like I said, we got a lot to talk about and a lot to touch on. So it's like it's interesting history to get into. But before we do, I got to ask you the first question I ask everybody who comes on here, which is what was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
The last one that I watched I had a strong opinion about.
Good or bad?
No, good. First Wives Club was the first time I watched it. Was I want to say like Monday or Tuesday, like ever. Never seen this movie before. I was on Tubi just trying to find, like, I'm like a really big 90s movies buff. Like I like finding like that older aesthetic. Well, it's not even an aesthetic at that point, but for us, it like now it looks like an aesthetic. But I just like the graininess, and like it just looks warm. Like a lot of those films just feel warm, so I like watching them when I'm just in like a blah mood. So I stumbled on that because it had Diane Keaton, and I love her. So I'm like, ooh, I've never seen this before. That movie was like the white women's Waiting to Excel, like
Oh,
literally.
for sure. Easy.
I was
Yeah.
just like, how have I never seen this movie before? It was so, it was like really, really funny, really emotional. Like, I saw a lot of myself in all of the characters at one point or another. Just, granted, I'm not married, never been married, but just like how they carry themselves. I think the older I get, I like watching films centered around like women or even shows like Girlfriends. I watch Girlfriends a lot and just kind of seeing before it used to be like, oh, I think I'm her versus now it's like, no, I see this and that and this and that and all these different characters. So it was a really great movie. I highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
That's crazy because I just watched it for the first time. I want to. It was either like the end of last year or the beginning of this year because I had never heard of it or seen it. And me and my partner found it, and Desiree was like, "Oh, you've never seen First Wives Club?" And I was
I've
like,
never
"No, I don't."
seen
I was like, "I don't
that.
even know what that
Yeah.
is." So we watched it, and I was like, "Oh, cool," you know. And yeah, like I thought the exact same thing about Waiting to Exhale, and I also I love Diane Keaton. I also love Goldie Hawn.
I
Like
loved
it's
all of them. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Love it.
like and like and the Goldie Hawn appreciation just kind of started recently because I just saw you ever seen Death Becomes Her with her
No.
and Meryl Streep? Yo, if you liked First Wives Club, go yeah, I don't want to get too far off topic, but Death Becomes Her is like Bruce Willis is in it, Meryl Streep's in it, Goldie Hawn's in it.
I love Meryl Streep.
Uh
She's
yeah,
another good one.
Meryl
Yeah.
Streep's a fucking icon. All I'm gonna say is that it involves like magic that keeps two people alive, and it's like a
Okay.
love triangle between two women and a man. And it's on some like eternal. It's on some like Fountain of Youth shit. Why am I having a hard time explaining what this movie's about? It's just super duper dope, and it's kind of in the same vein of the First Wives Club, but it's just way more fantastical and like and like darkly fucked up funny. Like the
Okay.
ending, the ending. I didn't expect the ending to be as like it's dark, but it's not depressing. It's just like really like fucked up funny humor type of ending, and I think it came out in the either the late '80s or the early '90s. Anyway, you saying that, but to get back to First Wives Club, yeah, I'd never seen it until before within the last like year and a half or however long it's been, but yeah, super funny.
Yeah.
Like I also appreciated how warm it looked too because I just saw
Mhm.
somebody tweeted a side by side of frames from Freaky Friday, the first one, and then
Oh, and the
Freakier Friday,
new
the one that just
one.
came out, and it's like you can see the difference in like the color grading because like the earlier one is super duper warm and the new one's
Mhm.
like really pale by comparison, and you can say that about a lot of movies. Like a
Yeah.
lot of movies just like kind of verge toward the grayscale. Like even when it's color, it's just like it just looks washed out.
Mhm.
And I miss when things were warm. Like the '90s definitely
Yeah.
had that. Like they weren't afraid to have things kind of glow a little bit, like it wasn't real, if that makes sense. You
The
know?
music also was a lot warmer, and it's not to say all movies. I just granted there's so many different films that are out, and I'm sure
Yeah,
there's great soundtracks. But there's a certain feel to a lot of those like '90s, '80s films, and the scoring that also felt very warm. Ironically, too, like this word "warm" is reminding me, very random, not film related. Well, kind of film related. So there's this
yeah.
artist Nami, and he released a project. I want to say like probably was like March or April, and it has a lot of that 80s 90s pop R&B synth kind of like elements to his sound, and the album is called Warm because it was to him reminiscent of that era of film.
Mm,
um Great album. If y'all haven't heard of him, it's Nami, but definitely check that out if you're into that kind of feel.
that's dope. My
Yeah.
homegirl Kelly Moonstone has a song on
Oh, she's
her. She's
fire.
crazy.
Yeah.
People, yeah, I profiled her, and it's gonna be coming out soon. She's
Okay. Yeah.
shout out to Kelly if she's listening. Kelly's amazing. But she just put out a new album called New Moon, and there's a couple songs on there that have that exact same feeling. But there's a
Mhm.
specific one from her last album called Warm that
Mhm.
that hits all the same notes. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's fine.
I, I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it. But yeah, I mean, like for anybody who hasn't seen First Wives Club, it's really like I don't know, just like a very like women of a certain age getting burned by husbands and boyfriends and just being like, fuck this shit. We're taking them all out. Like it's
Yeah.
really just that. and it's so much fun, and it really does, like you said, like talking about aesthetics before, it really is kind of, it hits all these 90s notes
Mm-hmm.
that I really appreciate. And just like, I go back to old movies as often as I can. Like my letterbox list is just like dozens and dozens of movies across genres and times and like disciplines, whatever. And just like there's something about that like mid to late 90s, early 2000s type of
Mm-hmm.
vibe that just between the soundtracks and I don't know, man. Like for some
I think
it's no, sorry, you go.
no. I think the what a lot of it is too, like the world building within the films was a lot more strong. Well, was not a lot more stronger. It was a lot stronger then. Um, like it was like the storytelling, in my opinion, was way more complex. So it was captivating in that sense because there was just so much to the storylines in a lot of those films versus now it's almost like I watch a lot of films now, and granted some of them are really, like, I've seen a couple of really good films, but for the most part I feel like a lot of shit now is predictable
Yeah.
because the storytelling isn't that complex. So it's like, okay, you maybe within like the first 30 minutes of the film you're like, all right, I know where this is going.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw I just watched, it was called the Parenting. It came out I
Mm.
think earlier this year. It's a movie about um these two guys who are together. They rent an Airbnb so their families can meet each other, but
Mm.
the crib they meet up in is haunted by a demon. So it's like a horror romantic, and like we got a certain amount of way through the movie, and I was like you could tell that it was trying to go for that kind of 2000s vibe and mix it in with something that was really
Yeah.
modern. And it was the first time in a long time I've watched a movie like that, and I'm like, they're really trying to push this millennial shit on us. Like it was just like the way, like the way they said certain things and acted. I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, it felt like watching Insecure for the first time, and like how like Issa and the team was super like, we're pulling from Twitter discourse,
Yeah.
and like this was like, it felt like they were pulling from social media aesthetics and trying to make that a
Yeah.
movie. And it just like, the pieces were there, but I just kind of wish it was a little funnier. Like
Mm.
parts of it were funny, but like that was a movie that it felt to me like if they had made that in like 2006 and kept it a little more contemporary to that time, it
Mm.
would have hit. Like we'd be talking about it now 20 years later. But they tried to bridge the two eras, and it wasn't bad. It was just kind
Yeah,
of
it just
like,
wasn't
I
great
wish
either.
it, yeah, I just wish it was better. But I feel you
Yeah.
100%.
I guess another thing
Um,
too, strong opinion. I
yeah.
probably can't say too much about it because I know a lot of people are watching it currently. But I started. Well, I didn't start. I've been watching the new season of Well, I finished it. The Summer I Turned Pretty.
How
On
is it? Because I'm not hip.
It's so good. Oh my! Like, I don't know. I knew I was gonna love it because the concept of it. I think it's so fire. Essentially, it's like there's these two families that the women and the mothers, actually, they were best friends in college, and then as they grew older they just became really really close friends. Their families grew together. They had a summer house where I think the one family owned it and the other family would come visit and stay the whole summer, and it was like their family group thing that they would do every single year. Beginning of the season, the first season, the mom passes away, and that's kind of what kicks everything off, as far as just like, because they were just so close knit, and it kind of like everything turned into shambles after she passed because she held everything
Yeah.
together. But it's more so like a love story about the kids, right? So there's the family who doesn't necessarily live there. Her daughter is this beautiful girl who both of the other woman's sons are both in love with. One of the sons, she has like this, that, those love stories where it's like they would probably fall in love in every timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That was them. So she fell in love with him first. She was always in love with him as a kid. They finally got together. He like shatters her heart because he's not ready for a relationship, and he like played in her face OD.
Mm.
Um,
Damn.
they break up at on prom day, or prom night rather.
Mm.
And then she falls in love with the brother who has always been in love with her also. So the second season is literally they've been together, the other brother, for like 3 or 4 years, all through college. They're getting ready to get married, and this entire time she's still in love with the first brother she was with. So I won't get
Yeah.
into what happens for whoever watches it and they haven't seen everything yet, but it's just like it's just so it's one of those like great writing, storytelling is very captivating. I think it's just dope because a lot of these actors, if not all, I've never seen these people before, and I am now very tied and connected to them as actors and actresses because they're just really good. Like the show is fire.
Yeah, based on what I've heard, it seems like it's the type that's gonna like imprint on them for the rest of their
Oh,
careers, and
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
like in the same way that like Twilight imprinted on
Oh my
Robert
god,
Pattinson and Kristen
yeah.
Stewart, and like how they're still kind of trying to shake it off, and it's been like
Mhm.
10, 15 years. But yeah, the only and like funny enough, I hadn't really heard much about The Summer I Turned Pretty until they announced, I think it was within the last 2 days, that they're about to put out a finale movie. I just
Finale
had like,
movie?
or something like that. Yeah, like
Oh,
I saw some. Yeah, I don't know. Like go find it if you
yeah,
can. But
that's crazy. If they do, that's insane.
but you know, like me, I haven't watched it, so I don't really have like I haven't watched it. I don't have much of an opinion about it.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna check it at some point. But you just reminded me of something else I watched. Maybe it had to have been like 2-ish months ago. I'm trying to remember what the joint was called. It's a remake, which I'm not normally huge on.
Mm.
So it was a Netflix series called The Four Seasons. It had Steve Carell, Tina Fey, Coleman Domingo, Will, which Will was it? I think it's Will
Errol?
Forte, I'm pretty
Um,
sure. And but so it's like it's about these, it's about three couples who meet in college, and they stay friends throughout their whole lives. And each of the four episodes of the show takes place during a different season. And like they meet, like one of them's about to renew their wedding vows in the summer, and then they go on a trip in the fall, and then they go like to revisit their college in the spring, or in the winter, and then they do something else. And or maybe I'm messing the order up of the seasons, but it's just about all these couples and their respective relationship dynamics, and how they've matured with each other or haven't. And a couple of them almost get divorced and they come back together. Somebody dies at the end out of nowhere. I actually thought it was kind of a cop out and insane that the person who died.
mm,
But you telling me about The Summer I Turned Pretty just took me back to, because like The Four Seasons was originally, I think it was originally a movie, and they
okay.
just decided to remake it and turn it into a show. And I enjoyed it. It was like solid, like 3 star, like 3.5 star. Like sit down, watch it, laugh, feel a few things, and then maybe you'll remember it in 2 months when a homie brings up something else that reminds you of it, like that
Mm,
type of shit. Which like I think we need more stuff like that in the world. Stuff that's just like fun, cool, not breaking the barrier, not
yeah.
like completely trash or mid, just stuff that's like, this is cool, it's
Yeah.
entertaining, it's fun. Like not everything needs to like completely redefine the paradigm and knock it out the box on some shit.
Yeah.
Like it can just be, here's this trope, here's this story, we're just going to tell this story real well, or as well as we can, and enjoy. Like it's I don't know, I like it's the simple things. I'm
Yeah.
you get older and you just learn to enjoy the simple things a bit more,
Mm.
even
It's
even,
kind of
even
crazy. It's
though,
just very random. It's not about film, but I always find these like parallels in conversations in my life, and it's something you just said kind of struck me because I just had a conversation about this yesterday, so it's like very ironic. But you said it's the simple things, right? So I was talking to my
word.
friend last night, and then I don't know how the conversation came up, but I asked him like, if you had a week to live, what would you spend the week doing? And
That's a
then he
question
asked me
right
the
there.
same question. And is when he asked me, I really had to think hard and like long about it because I'm just like trying to think of like what I want to fit into that week. And what I realized is I actually wouldn't. It's probably like a lot of bucket list shit that I would want to do in life that I wouldn't do in that week because I would feel like I'm wasting time, and I would rather do all the simple things, like
Yeah.
spending time with family, sitting in nature, go to the beach. Like, because then I thought about like this specific example. Like, what if one of the things on my bucket list is like Thailand, right? Imagine you have a week to live and you take a 16-hour flight to Thailand. Like, I'm going to feel like I wasted 16 hours.
Word.
I don't care what the experience is. I'm going to feel like, damn,
Yeah.
but that was a whole 16 hours. And then the flight back, that's another 16. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it really made me think about what I really enjoy out of life. And to your point, the parallel here is the simple shit. So, yeah.
Word. And on top of that, like if you're like if you're gonna smush a whole bunch of bucket list shit into a week, you're gonna be rushing through it to do it, and you're
That
not really
too.
gonna be able to like sit and like savor it, because like that's the whole point is
Mhm.
that you should want to savor the stuff that you really want to do instead of just being like, oh, I did it. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
met whoever, like it's just like like you should want to savor those moments and not like speed through them. So yeah, I mean, if I was asked that question, I'd probably say something similar. Like like for me, I'd be like, I'm gonna go to Wawa and get my favorite sandwich.
Oh, that's
Go
so
kick,
funny.
go
Wawa.
kick, go. Oh hell yeah! What's in that cup? What's in that cup?
I got what is this? A salted caramel ice macchiato.
Let's go. Man, yeah, no, I'm not in Jersey right now, but I'm trying to go back to Wawa as soon as I get home. But just like get my favorite food, kick it with people I never get to see, and just like that stuff you can savor.
Yeah.
Like I can savor being with my sister and my dad. I can savor being with my lady and their family. I can savor listening to music or watching a movie in like a place that means something to me. Like you can really sit with that stuff and really let it impact you in a way that skydiving naked off the fucking Burj Khalifa or whatever wouldn't register, because you're like, oh yeah, what's the next thing? Like it's
Yeah.
like I feel like that's kind of the nut of that challenge, is like pick stuff that you'll really appreciate.
Hmm.
At least I would hope so for other
And
people. I'm
ironically, on my list, watching a bunch of throwback movies was on it. So, see,
see
full circle.
exactly. So now on that note, I want to run through your viewing history a little bit, T. What's the last movie, or excuse me, what's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the theater, it
Oh,
could be
that
at your
is a
cousin
great
house.
question. So
Yeah.
it's funny because my first movie experience became a tradition for me now as an adult. So I went to go see Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in theater when theater was an experience. Like, this is
Yeah.
when, granted, you see it here and there sometimes with certain movies where they will have like product be created specifically for the launch of I feel that the whatever the word for the launch of a film is, I forgot, the premiere.
Premiere, yeah.
So like if you go to the premiere, you might get a poster. Like, I know Beyonce did that, but
Mm-hmm.
when we were kids, like when Harry Potter used to come out in theaters, they would have like these carts driving around the theater with, we're not driving, but someone pushing them around theater with those them nasty candies with all those nasty ass flavors.
Oh, the Birdie Bots, every flavor beans, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I
they
remember
had
that, yeah.
all that stuff, and I can never forget this experience because it's like they don't do that type of stuff anymore.
Nah.
But it also, I believe, it came out around Christmas time. Christmas was in the film because that was the one, like the
Yep.
first one. Which is why I always associate Harry Potter and that whole series with Christmas. So every Christmas, I watch the Harry Potter series. It's part of my viewing history. But yeah, I went with my aunt and my sisters. It wasn't nothing like crazy special. It's just that's one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
And I always have it ingrained in my mind because I just remember them nasty ass candies.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I remember getting a couple boxes, and like there'd be the ones that taste like earwax or like boogers or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, it would like I appreciated that really specific. Like, we're gonna bring, because it was like that, and they used to do like the chocolate frogs too. And
yep,
obviously the frogs don't come back. Like they still make that stuff, but it's like
mm,
it's like a little harder to find
yeah,
with Harry Potter specifically. But like I'm noticing more and more now that a lot of modern films are starting to tap back into that, like, very, like, we're gonna put out like a product or do a thing. Like, this isn't exactly the same. It's a little more like abstract. But when
mm.
Weapons came out earlier this
Oh
year,
my god, I want to see that.
it's crazy. I won't spoil it, but like,
Appreciate you.
nah, no doubt. But like, of course, like the big pull of the movie is that like a bunch of kids disappear into the night at 2:17 in the morning, and some theaters across the country, when the movie first came out, they showed the movie at 2:17 a.m. So like
Mm,
people could come and watch the movie at
yeah.
like, and it's a long ass movie, so you're not gonna be
Oh, it
going
is.
home and
Oh,
oh
I
yeah,
love
yeah, no, the movie's got to be like just over 2.5 hours. So like
that. Okay,
you go see it at 2:17, you're not gonna be leaving the theater until like
like
5 a.m. or
five.
some shit,
Yeah.
But like I
Mm.
didn't get to do that, but like even something as simple as like I'll go to the movie sometimes, and some theaters will have posters of the movies, and you can like bring them home. Of like
Mm.
they'll just have like a spread of like 5 or 6, and you could just like pick one and just take it home with you. Sometimes they have the movie you're going to see. Sometimes it's like whatever, but just I don't know, like people, and then like even going to like the big thing that movie theaters do now is like designer popcorn buckets. So
Oh,
like
that's what I couldn't think of what I was thinking of. I've seen that. That's when I said I've seen some movies do it. I saw that and I almost bought one because I thought it was cool, but it's like I don't even eat popcorn.
yeah, you see, I love popcorn. Like every once in a while I want to get one, but the
Yeah.
only way I'd ever do it is if like, because them shits are like $50-$60.
Exactly. That's
Like that.
literally why I was like, girl, you don't even eat popcorn. Put the shit down. Stop.
Yeah, like it's cool, and you want to support the theaters and the people and
Yeah.
whatever, but it's like the only way. Well, actually, I bought one for a Terrifier that's up
Of
there
course
that
you
you can't
did.
see. Yeah, but it wasn't for me. It was for Desiree, because Desiree loves the Terrifier movies. I mean, we both do. But like the only way I would get one of those for myself is if you go to the theater and they give you like a coupon. It's like you get 3 free buckets of popcorn for paying $60 for this shit.
Yeah.
Like that's like they need to give me a bit more of an incentive other than just like you have this, because like some of them look cool, but others it's just like you really were just trying to design some, because like you remember when Dune came out and they made the
Hmm.
one, and then like they made the worm one that people were doing all crazy, like you could tell these companies really wanted to recreate that, like they wanted to recreate that moment, because like they had like a Wolverine one with like Wolverine's mouth and tongue out, and I'm just like, y'all are trying too hard now, man. Come on, like don't. The reason the Doom one took off was because nobody expected it to be that, and then people just
Hmm.
made it. Like you're trying too hard. But either way, like they're trying to find ways to make the experience more of an experience again, and I appreciate that as somebody who goes to the movies a lot and
Yeah.
doesn't want them to
Same.
die. But I
It's
feel it.
interesting too because very random, but I saw on Twitter there was like a photo set of an old theater and like the architectural design of the theater and just
I
like
know what you're talking about. Yeah,
why are you doing like how can we get back to that? Because like
yeah.
I just feel like what the fuck world were we living in when we were kids? Because some of this
Uh,
like even like the mall, Wendy's, McDonald's, like some of these places that we go to now are
yeah,
like they don't look anything like what I remember and I don't understand why we became so modernized in design.
yeah.
It's so boring.
Yeah, it's like sleek and not colorful and
Yeah,
boring. Yeah, nah, like it's that's like part of the reason I like to go to the theater I go to is because it's like super colorful and vibrant, and it's like it's not at the level of the thing you're talking about,
yeah.
but but like it's at least like it's stimulating. I go inside and there's like a big portrait of Marilyn Monroe up top and a bunch of like movie stars and like and like film reel, and they got and like they have pictures of like directors working on like big movies. Like there's one that I always see of Spike Lee and Denzel working on Malcolm X. Like
This is
stuff
this
like
in Jersey?
it's in Jersey. Yeah,
Oh yeah, you gotta
it's at
send me that.
it's at Garden State in Paramus.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. That is good to know.
I go
Hmm.
the I yeah, yeah, no, that's the theater I go to all the time.
Okay,
It's it's it's
that's
it's a
fire.
It's yeah, I love it. I want to say the theater's been open. I think it's been like 15 years. I think it opened in like 2010
Mm.
or 2011. Like it's been like at least a decade, but yeah, like that's like my that and another one that's closer to my house are like my go-tos, you know.
Yeah, I just go to AMC. We don't have those where I'm at,
Nah,
unfortunately.
the one I'm talking about to AMC. Yeah,
Well
yeah,
then, good
yeah.
to know.
Yeah, no, they just styled the fuck out of the design,
Yeah.
and it just looks really cool. But yeah, no, it's an AMC. I'm the one at it's the AMC Garden State 15, I think it is. But
Okay.
yeah, that's home base.
Thank you.
Yeah, always. So I mean, like as you get older and you start to develop more of your own taste and just start to see more of the world, I like to think of this next thing as a capital M movie, one that really hits you in an emotional, artistic, or spiritual way, like more than just like 90 minutes of pure entertainment. The
Mm.
earliest one of those you could think of.
The earliest one probably was. It doesn't have to be adulthood, right?
No, it
Um.
could be whenever.
What is the name of
It
that
could be
movie?
yesterday if you want.
No, no, no. There. I know the movie I'm talking about, and I don't remember. Give me a second because I want to use that one. I don't want to stray from that film. It's like the Green Mile. Is it the Green Mile?
The Green
The Green
Mile,
Mile.
the one with
Green
yeah,
Mile.
yeah,
So I think I saw the Green Mile. I had to probably be like I was really young too. Because I feel like if I would have watched that now as an adult, I don't think it would have like I would have been moved, but I don't think I would have been shattered by it the way that I was when I was a kid.
word.
But I probably was like no older than like 8 or 9. And I remember watching it and getting to the end, hoping they were gonna let him be free because they were all like they all knew he was innocent, and everybody loved him, and it was just like, but y'all really gonna kill him? So when they killed him and the way he went out, I was just like, oh my god, this is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know, I just remember crying so much because it was just like, well why? Because that was my first experience with a realistic uh, example of what happens with the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
Um, because for context, for those who don't know me, I grew up back and forth between Trenton and Ewing. Trenton, the hood. Ewing is like suburbs. I'm a suburb kid, so my experience with like racism in law enforcement, it was very minimal. If I had to be completely honest, so that wasn't something like I didn't grow up with my dad telling me like you got to act like this when you get around cops because I was never around cops. This just
Mm.
wasn't a thing out here. So watching that film was just like, what the fuck? They treat black people like this? And it was just like such a shock for me because that's just not something that I was necessarily intentionally taught. Because then even like just a little Tatiana lore. My first real run-in with cops was in college, and just so y'all get the context, like at that point, my dad still hadn't really given me the rundown, and I think the other thing too was more so because I was a girl. He didn't feel like he needed to. I don't think it was necessarily because I was just like so oblivious to the world because
Right.
you ain't borders trained, so it ain't that great here, but it's like I just don't feel like he felt like he needed to tell us that stuff because he didn't think that women would have to deal with certain things that men did. And yeah, so my first run-in with the cops was in college. I got arrested, had to go to court. It was this whole thing, traumatized as shit. Like to this day, like cops pull up on me and I'd be shaking. Like I don't do cops because I was
Yeah.
so traumatized by that experience. But yeah, I would say that film. I think that film really was like my first like, wow, okay, that's what they do to black people. Interesting.
Yeah. Man. I mean, like, so like I'm a big Michael Clark Duncan fan, and the person who you're talking about is Michael Clark Duncan, who winds
Yeah.
up getting killed. He's the prisoner, dead man walking on the Green Mile, all that
Yeah.
shit. Like, because I think I saw that for the first time after I saw him play Kingpin in Daredevil, and like he just kind of like for anybody who grew up when we grew up, like he was kind of he was like a fixture in like he was just like a fixture in every movie you could
Yeah.
possibly imagine. He was all over the place. So like seeing him like seeing his range in movies like that, and then seeing him in something like he's in Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, and the thing he does there, like I don't know, Michael Clark Duncan was one of the best, and I was very sad when he passed away. But like
Mm,
but like stuff like that, and Shawshank Redemption is which
yeah.
he which like he wasn't in, but like those two movies also played a those two movies also played a pretty big role in like I mean like for me like kind of like you, I grew up in Montclair, which is also the suburbs, but
Oh,
is
my
also
dream
like
neighborhood. Okay.
yeah, and it's crazy because I mean like I feel like I've said this before, but like Montclair, Montclair is so interesting because like you got multi-million-dollar homes, and then
Mm,
you got like the P's. It's
mm,
like even though like Montclair is even more gentrified now than it was when I grew up there, but like it really is just like such a parallel between spots. Like you go to like Bellevue Avenue and Valley Road, and then you go over to like Mission Street, and like I've taken people there who've never been, and they're like, we're still in Montclair. I'm like, yeah. And you're
mm,
like, we're also like we're bordering Newark, we're bordering Bloomfield, we're bordering the Oranges, like just like the influence of it's just like everything's all over the place, and it's kind of hard to pin it all down. But like
mm,
my father's from the Bronx. He grew up. He's born in Harlem, raised in the Bronx. So like he was kind of giving me all these talks from a young age, like
yeah,
regardless. But I had my first run in with the cops when I had to have been 14 or 15. Me and the homies were just chilling on a corner, and the cops drove up the hill, and they parked in the middle of it. It was like an intersection. They parked in
mm,
it was the intersection of Van Vleck and South Mountain Avenue. I'll never forget it.
mm.
He parked in the middle of the road, right? And then he stood there for about 5 seconds, turned his sirens on, and then went back down the hill.
My fault. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to shout out the Real Notes Patreon one time. For as little as $5 a month, you get exclusive goodies like video of every interview, 2-day early access to every interview, an invite to the Real Notes Discord server, exclusive access to the Real Talk Movie Night archive, and early pre-sale links for all live events. If you want to give a little more, you get other exclusives like retro 60-second movie reviews and monthly 90-minute workshops with me, where we can discuss whatever creative questions or projects you might have going on. Head over to patreon.com/realnotes. That's REELNOTES to join right now. I repeat, all videos will only be available on the Patreon. Thanks for listening. Shout out to my patrons. Now let's get back to talking.
And we're just like it's like me and like all my friends. We're all black, so we're all just chilling on this grass, and the cops are just like they did that, and we're like, that was fucking weird. All right. So like maybe like 10 or 15 minutes go by, and then it happens again. He drives up the hill, sits there for about 4 or 5 seconds, turns his sirens on, and leaves. And we're like, we need to get the fuck up out of here. Like
Yeah,
they're not gonna be that nice, like on the third time. But like, just like spending I have family in the city, so like we'd constantly be traveling between like the city and in Jersey. Like I got family out in Queens and Brooklyn, so like like cops were everywhere. And
yeah,
my dad and my family made it very clear to us from jump, like this is the stuff you're gonna have to deal with growing up black in America. Like
yeah.
it was all there. But like seeing it in stuff like the Green Mile and stuff like Shawshank and stuff like I even remember, like I never watched the whole show, but I know like Oz was big in the 2000s, and
I
like
didn't watch Oz. I might have to revisit that. I heard it
like
was good. I never seen that.
it's like from what I've seen, it's real good. I just never watched the whole thing, but you walk in on your parents watching all type of shit.
Hmm.
So like like I just I just saw like a couple episodes of Oz, and or like it was all more than that. But
Hmm.
it's like yeah, I mean like Montclair is beautiful, it's great. Like
Yeah,
but like it's also once again just like a real it's just such a mix of different kinds of people, especially considering that like in Essex it's like all the counties in Essex are just so interconnected. Like you got niggas from Newark just chilling in Montclair, and people from Montclair and the Oranges. It's just like
yeah.
everyone's all over the place, and just like so many different financial backgrounds. And
Mm.
like I'm so grateful I grew up the way I grew up, because it gave me a ton of perspective that I feel like I wouldn't have gotten until later in life. And it makes me I just think that's cool. Like I'm kind of grateful for that.
I agree. Same.
Yeah, nah, it's like that's and like people don't want to talk about, like people don't know much about Jersey generally, but like
Yeah.
so much of Jersey, I mean like considering that like you grew up like way further down south than I did, like
It's probably the
we
same dynamic, to be honest. Because I have like
right.
Princeton. If you know Princeton, you know Princeton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Princeton is right there. Lawrenceville is like baby Princeton. Lawrenceville is probably comparable to like a lesser expensive Montclair.
Word.
Then
Yeah.
there's Ewing, which is like little step below that, and then there's Trenton. So it's just like we're all on the border of each other. So there's literally all these different walks of life, all these or all these personalities. And like my school in particular, when I went to Ewing High, it was when they had shut down Trenton High for a while, and everyone from Trenton High had to come integrate into Ewing High. So it's like it was just like a melting pot my entire life. So
yeah, and like and then one thing I learned recently that I never thought about because you take it for granted just being from here, Jersey is the most populous state in the country, like per capita, like in terms of just like people. Like it's just like we're used to just being around hella people because it's just hella people here. But like I'll bring people who aren't like once again like I'll bring Desiree to Jersey, and Des is just like there's so many people here. Like I go into a store and it's just full of people. Like I'm on the island right now. The island is like there's people out here, but it's you can like it's a difference between like going to the supermarket here and going at home where it's like 40, 50, 60 people breathing on top of it. Like I like that. I don't care.
I do
about
too.
it.
Yeah,
You know, like
that's so funny.
I'm cool with it. But like seeing people come from out of town and like that was the first thing. It was like there's so many people here, and I'm like it's just what we do. I don't know. Like
that feels warm to me. Like when we talk about the concept of warmth, I like seeing a lot of people because that feels like home to me. I don't like going to cities where it's like, damn, where everybody at? You go to a store, it's 3 people in the store. Like, okay,
yeah.
So
I feel that for sure.
That's why I love New York. Like I don't think I would ever live in New York if I gotta be honest, because it's I don't know. I go to New York and it's like you work there and go home.
Right.
But I love that when you go to New York at any hour of the night, it might not be as packed as it used to be when we were younger. Because I think post-pandemic, New York kind of slowed down a bit after a certain time. Sure. But you're still going to get that element of like, it's still going to be mad niggas outside. It might not be a crowd, but you go to New York at any time of the night, it's going to be people outside. And I love that about New York. Because I'm like a huge people watcher.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, same. I'm a big people watcher. I just love places that feel lived in, you know, and like, and yeah, just like every section in New York, whether you're in Brooklyn or if you're uptown, like there's gonna be somebody doing something, and you know, just like you just let your mind wander and just like kick it with the people. I don't know, like I used to be in the city every day because I worked I worked a different job before all this, and then. Like like now I kind of like if I'm in the city I'm treating that as like a day where it's like I'm gonna go do this and this.
That's literally what I just said. My friends like we're gonna be in New York for this day and that day. Like girl, my New York day is this day, and we need to fit this in that day because that day is gonna be this and that and this and that, and it's gonna be a whole thing. And then I'm going back to Jersey.
Right. Yeah. No. And then like, and then next week I'm gonna be in the city for 2 days, so I'm already like, okay, so I can do this on Thursday and this on Friday.
That's literally how I do it. That's so funny. It must be a Jersey thing.
You know, like that's just like that's just what it is to have proximity to the city that way. Like like I got hella homies from Jersey who are always in the city, and I think they treat it the same way, but they also drive in, and it's different from like us like, taking the train and shit. Not from where you're at, because like from where you're at it's gonna take you like, because like how long does it take you to get in by train? Like an hour and a half?
See, that's the thing, right? Driving would be quicker than the train.
Okay.
The problem is I don't do New York driving. Like New York drivers, I've never seen anything like it, and 0 out of 10 do not recommend. I don't know how I've never gotten an accident in New York, but thank the Lord, because niggas in New York can't drive. And I would also argue niggas in North Jersey can't drive either, but that's not my business.
You're not wrong.
Because I'm not from there.
You're not wrong. Yeah, as the resident North Jerseyan, you're not wrong. We don't know how to drive out there.
No.
But if you can drive there in New York, you can drive anyway. Honestly,
absolutely.
Like, yeah.
But I wouldn't though. I prefer not to. So I usually take the train in. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, because for me, I'm like 45 minutes out by train. Depending on where I'm going, I can like sometimes I drive into Brooklyn for the events I throw, and like that'll take like an hour, you know. But like if I just need to go to like Midtown, just hop the like I live right near a train, so just walk and hop the train. But anyway, enough Jersey lore. Excuse me.
We had to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, this is like official, like we're talking in person for the first time, like catch up type shit. So
It's
I
funny
want
because
to
I
do
feel like people are gonna hear our conversation and be like, I feel like I'm like intruding on a personal conversation.
that's half the appeal of this show. So
Okay.
yeah, mission accomplished. But I want to do the same thing we did with movies for music with you. When's the
Ooh.
so like with music, when did music become capital M music for you? Like not even in terms of you wanting to make it, but just being fascinated by music.
Um, that is a great question. I would say
Here we go.
when I was around like 8 or 9. So I used to, my dad put me in dance lessons when I was 3. And I was a really good ballet dancer up until about 13 when he took us out to dance school. So shout out to Miss Carol Watson. I went to Watson Johnson Dance Theater in Jersey or Trenton, which was a black owned dance theater. And I say it became a capital M when I was around like 7 or 8, even though I was in there for a while, because I think initially it was just something that my dad put me in. But once I was able to understand how good I was at it, that's when I started to really love it. Because then I got like a lot of solos, and it became like a thing. And I just remember when he took us out, I was devastated because that was like the one thing I really, really loved was dancing. Because of hip hop, jazz, and tap, or hip
Yeah.
hop, tap, and ballet, excuse me. And it was just like a lot of the musical selections she would choose for us were very throwback. Like we did a lot of Michael Jackson routines because that was one of her favorites. Kind of like stayed in the Jackson family for the song selections for the pieces she would choreograph. Like it would be a lot of Michael Jackson, a lot of Janet Jackson. And then like I remember one year I did Wind Beneath My Wings. I forgot the name of that song. Oh yeah, that actually might be the name of it. I forgot the artist rather. White artist. It's like a ballad. Like, did you ever know that you're my hero? I forgot the name of that song, but
Yeah, that sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
yeah, it's like a really popular like Americana ish song. But yeah, like I think subconsciously through dance, that's when music became a big thing for me because of dance. But I think if we're talking just music, I would have to say ninth grade. Ninth grade is when I learned that I could sing, or when I realized I could really sing. Because so my dad also put me in piano at 4, so I was playing piano all the way up through like 20, with a private coach or a private teacher rather. And midway through, I realized I could sing, so I would learn a lot of the like. Alicia Keys is like so pivotal to my love for music because one thing I wasn't ever good at was sight reading. I can read music, but I was really bad at sight reading, so it would take me really long to learn pieces because I had to learn it and then memorize it so that I could play it, rather than I can't just like look at the sheet and then. So that was really hard for me. So because of that, I taught myself how to play by ear. So what I would do is I would buy the sheet music for a lot of the songs that I really enjoyed. At the beginning of every sheet music, like when you buy like an Alicia Keys book, the chords that the song are in, they're there. So like there's obviously the like entire song bar by bar, like how it's actually intended to be played. But there's also the different chord progressions that are used in the song. So if you don't necessarily want to play the beat by beat version of it, you can create your own version of it using those chords. Like it just tells you the different keys and chords that it's in.
Right.
So I bought a chord book and I would learn the chords, and then I would just keep listening to the song and then using the chords create my own versions of the songs, and then I would sing them. So like Alicia Keys I learned her music like front to back. The whole, like most of her music I could play still.
Oh, wow.
But that sparked me wanting to be in the gospel choir because I knew like, well, the real singers are gospel singers. Like that's how you learn how to sing. So, because I didn't really grow up in a religious family, but my dad was Baptist. So there's this church in Trenton called Shiloh Baptist Church, really well-known church. I had asked him like, I want to be in the youth choir. Can I come to church with you? So joined that, and I think that's when it became capital M for me when I started choir. Because there was a lot of parallels with my experience with dance where I start this thing on a like not as serious, and then it becomes this serious thing. Like I got so many choir solos because I was so good, and it was just like I could do this. And it's funny, like I remember my dad. He took me to New York at one point trying to get me a record deal, and now working in the industry, looking back on it, like it probably was a fucked up deal for
I'm
sure,
sure, yeah.
but it was like now in knowing, because he didn't know, he's just somebody who wanted to be in entertainment. He wanted his daughter to be in entertainment.
Yeah.
He said no, but he probably could have said yes, and I probably would have had the same trajectory of like a her, like in my opinion.
Right.
It's funny because I always see that video of her playing Alicia Keys' If I Ain't Got You. So my first ever demo was that. I played it and sang it, and that was the first demo I cut.
Wow.
And that's what he used to try and get me the record deal, which I would have got, but he didn't agree to the terms, so it just never happened. So every time I see her, it's like very reminiscent of what, like I see her and it's like, this is what my life could have been. But I say all that to say, like, it's funny working now in the industry and knowing different terms of these different deals that these artists are signing or had signed at that point. And comparably, it probably would have been just like any other deal that anybody else is getting, but he wasn't going for it.
See, I relate to so much of what you just said, because I mean, like, I also played piano, and we had the Diary of Alicia Keys
I had that
songbook at the
too.
house. Yeah. I don't remember exactly when we got it, but yeah, like I had one of those, and there was a period of time where like we were all trying to potentially, like, my sister and I would go to like audition for like roles and things. I almost joined a touring group of The Lion King. I think
Oh
I
my
made it to
god.
like the second round of auditions, and then I didn't make it to the rest. I was gonna be like young Simba or whatever. I forget how old I was, but yeah, I mean, like, I get that whole like being involved in that hustle at that point in time. But the thing that's interesting, from what I understand about what you went through, is that I know, like, as you got older, you eventually did decide to go to college for music. You went to Fayetteville, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, for that, and then you came back up to Keene instead, and then eventually you decided you didn't want to pursue music full time as a performer.
Yeah. I love
What
like this.
happened
You're
there?
so well known. I'm not one of well read because I don't tell people this stuff. So I went to Fayetteville. So okay, let's run it back. So in high school, I had this professor. I can't remember her names. I wish I did, but kind of going back to what I said earlier about just like I didn't grow up in one of those neighborhoods that were super black. So blackness was something you had to intentionally learn about. It wasn't something that was in the curriculum. It wasn't like I didn't have it was pretty evenly balanced of like white kids, black kids. So it wasn't like a thing where I was one of 5 black kids. It wasn't that, but it
Right.
also wasn't really ingrained in our curriculum either. So there was this course called Black History Through Literature. And it was the only black course on campus or at school rather. So I took that, and through that is where I learned about D9 and well, for those who don't know, Divine Nine, which is like all the black sororities, fraternities. And I learned about all the HBCUs and like the significance of them, their history, all of that. And I learned that through her. So in learning that, like, one, I wanted to be an AKA, and 2, I wanted to go to an HBCU. But the point at which I took the class it was too late to where like I couldn't really go to the school I wanted to go to, because I wanted to go like a Howard or Hampton. But I learned about this stuff way too late and ended up just going to whoever took me. And at that point, it was Fayetteville State. There was a couple other options, but I didn't really like the campuses that much. Granted, it's funny because now looking back on it, I feel like if I would have went to like North Carolina A&T, I probably would have stayed. But I just didn't know how dope of a school it was. That wasn't one of the schools that we visited when we went to go look at schools when I went out there. I had looked at Johnson C. Smith University. I think South Carolina State or something in South Carolina. And Fayetteville. And Fayetteville was the most like, okay, I can see myself here. Um, Transparently, that's funny because I don't tell anybody this either. But the reason I left Fayetteville was because I was in a relationship with my first boyfriend, first everything. I also had very strict parents, by the way, for those who don't know. So was in a relationship with this guy, and it was my first breakup. So first breakup with my first boyfriend, and I was with him all the time. So I took it very harshly. The street that the campuses were that the dormitories were on was named after like his grandfather or some shit. So like imagine every time I'm coming home from class, I'm seeing his name because he was like a third or a second or some shit like that.
Oh shit. Okay, I see
Yeah.
what you mean.
So
Yeah.
every time I'm coming to the dorm, I'm seeing his name. I was just like, yeah, this is too fucking much. I don't want to be here no more.
Right.
And then the other thing too, like outside of that, I'm just such a big like family person. And being that far away from family and not being able to just come home on the weekends and see my mom was like a lot. So going through a breakup that bad, as well as not being able to see family, I was just, I'm just going to transfer. So I was there for a year, and then I transferred to Kane. Kane Keen. We all don't know how to say it. I think it's Kane. I don't. But so it was interesting because being that Fayetteville was a historically black college, their music program was rooted in gospel. So we were learning a lot of gospel music. Obviously, we were still doing traditional, like classical rather. We did do that as well, but it wasn't as heavily as we did the gospel stuff. And then it was like if you were a music major there, you were in the gospel choir also. But then when I transferred to Keene, it was such a different experience because Kane's program, I'm saying Kane, it's traditional, it's traditional classical. So classical in the opera sense is kind of the trajectory there. Which interestingly, I was really good at. And like even that was like, I could be an opera singer. This is crazy. Like so good. So when I decided to stop, like a lot of my professors was just like, what are you doing? And I don't want to do this no more. And it's just like I look back at it sometimes and it's just like, oh, I wonder what that like. Granted, I don't want to ever do that. I can't see it, but I always wonder sometimes like, what if I was an opera singer? That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the program. I was in the program for about a year and a half. What happened was, so the way at that university, the way that the program goes is like if you're a voice major, you spend the entire semester learning 4 different songs in different languages. So I think like I learned a French one, Italian, obviously an English one, and I can't remember, like Spanish or maybe it was something. It was another language. But you have to memorize them. And at the end of the semester, you do what's called jury. So you sing in front of a jury of your professors, and you have to get like the diction correctly, the lyrics correctly, the pronunciation of the different languages correctly. Like they're judging you based off of all of that, and then that's how you get graded. So knew all these songs front to back, performed them all the time. And when it came time to do juries, I completely fucking blanked. Like just zero. I had nothing in my mind because I struggled so severely with anxiety. So standing in front, it's funny because this is like a common thread throughout my entire career in different ways. If you know me, you know. If you don't, now you know. But I just could not get over the stage fright. And granted, like once I like I literally just started crying, walked out, got myself together, was able to come back and sing it. But like at this point, I'm just like, this is an F.
It's over. Yeah, totally.
And it's crazy because they actually gave me a really high score, but in my mind, I'm like, y'all gave me the high score because like, oh, the poor little black girl, she's crying. I don't know, but I know I'm sure I performed it well, but I like in my mind, the performance was you crying and walking out. That was the actual performance. So I quit. Literally that same day I was done. Like never doing this again. I went and changed my major to communications. And I got my degree in public relations, which I never used. But then my minor was in music, so it kind of worked out because I could use that on my resumes. But that's what happened. That was my journey to where I'm at now.
Wow. So I mean, like, so all of that happens, like this like borderline traumatic experience, that's just like I'm done performing.
Mm-hmm.
When so like after all of this happened and you got this communications degree with this minor in music, when did you know that music was still gonna be, or rather, when did you know that covering music and being around music was going to become more than just a hobby for you? Because I know you were also, I know you were also on Tumblr blogging and reviewing shit at a time too.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, so like when did you go from that to like I'm actively pursuing a career in the music space?
So what it probably had to be maybe sophomore year. Shout out to one of my best friends, Jamar. I used to do a podcast with him called The Podcast About Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when I was working more in the independent hip hop space. So that podcast was centered on hip hop and then like the community. So we would talk about a lot of like local shit. We would bring a lot of like local community figures in to talk about what they do and who they are, and as well as obviously music. We would bring in a lot of different artists locally. Like shout out to like Crutch Calhoun. We had him on there. We had Marcus Araya. You got to be real Jersey to know these people, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like we had a lot of those hip hop artists on the show. And during that, we had a segment that he carved out for me because I really loved music. Where I would select all the like the music break songs. So for that, I think it was maybe like 4 songs. And I really enjoyed that because at that point, like playlisting was not really a thing. Because this was like when you couldn't get a job as a playlister at that point.
Right.
This was not
Definitely.
a thing.
Yeah.
And I like this is really like making this. It was even though it was like 4 or 5 songs. Like this is really fun. I like doing this because it's like you got to put them in a specific order so that it flows and it doesn't sound like, well, why is this song playing and now we playing this whole other genre? Like so it was an art to it even though there was only 5 songs. So it grew into this playlist series I started called Whip Sessions on SoundCloud. So Whip Sessions was, I think it was like no more than like 15 songs, and it was like whip as in car. So like these are songs that you could throw on in the whip. And then that grew because at first it was just me curating Whip Sessions with like a couple different artists on there. And then I came up with this concept of doing collaborative playlists with other industry professionals that I aspire to be like, or my peers. I like to say, like, I don't say this a lot, but I think I started a whole wave of collaborative playlists because after I did that series, I kind of started seeing that pop up a lot. Because again, this was like way before people, I don't want to be a playlist. This was not a thing at that point. Mm-hmm. We did, like, I had Joe from Audio Mac. He was one of my collaborators for one of those. I'm trying to think who, I can't even remember. It was so long ago. But essentially what I would do is I would have them curate half of the playlist and I would curate the other half, and it would be like a collaborative effort of a playlist experience. And yeah, like that just became like my little brand, Whip Sessions. And I would post those online on Twitter, and like it would get a lot of engagement because this was like, you would tag all the artists and then it was just the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I think at that point was when it was like, yo, I really love doing this. Like, how can I get paid for this? And it wasn't until I started working with this company called Dinnerland. And Dinnerland also had like a playlist element of, because Dinnerland created content. That was their bread and butter, was doing content for like Complex, Combat Jack, all these different companies in the music realm in New York at the time. So we had a series called Music Monday where we would feature a couple different songs that were like buzzing in New York. And then like Alexa Layton, who, beautiful girl, love her. She was the host of that, but I would curate the music for that, and then she would talk about it. Right. So it was like, well, we doing a show, we might as well do a playlist. So we turned Music Monday into a playlist, and then through that, like, we started doing open mics in New York, and then like every single week we did a hip hop open mic. We did a lot of these music centered events where we would invite different, like we had one called Good People Link Up. So we would invite all these music industry professionals who were rising at the time to kind of like present and network on what they're doing. Like, and we had like Nikki Chulo was there. One of them is how I met him.
Wow,
we had
shout
Harlem.
out.
Like we had all these people before they were who they are now. Like, these are people that just pulled up and we grew together in that sense. Like these are my peers for real. And like I will love Dinland forever for that, because they put me in the mix with all these like incredible professionals who are now 10 years deep into their careers, and like they are like staples in music. And these are people that like I knew and pulled up to our events when they were just like buzzing, like I'm trying to be this, like they're that now. But yes, I like to say, like, through those events, I got a partnership with AudioMac, and then that's how I got into streaming and programming, because AudioMac then reached out to me to do their Hometown Heroes playlist, and then it's just been up from there. So shout out to Z, shout out to Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like as a DJ booth alum, I can't not shout out Z. You know, like that yeah, like like I mean, like I cut my teeth at DJ booth and AudioMac. You cut your teeth at AudioMac, and like that's like that era was such a that was such like a that was such a tender time for all of us, because we were all just figuring it out. Yeah, like playlisting really wasn't a thing like that at that time, and then we gradually got to see it become a thing, and you were ahead of the curve in that respect, because now, like, you know, like the whole world runs on playlisting at this point, you know, like so it's but you know, like of course you start there, things elevate, you move, and then eventually you find yourself at Pandora. Obviously you started out in a different position than you ended up being in now, but like when did you know, like, and like of course at this point you eventually transition away from doing rap stuff and you lean more into R&B and African and Caribbean stuff. So like talk to me about getting to Pandora and how. Actually, no, I forgot to ask you one other thing that I don't want to forget about. You're a huge Nipsey Hussle fan. You're a huge Dom Kennedy fan. I know you spent some time out in Cali. I think it might have been like a couple years, if I remember correctly.
So LA, I was there for, when did I go?
I'm sorry if I'm blowing your spot
up
too
much. No. I'm literally like, when did I end up? So I moved to LA top of the pandemic. What time? What was that? June? No, it was like June. So June of 2020, I ended up moving to LA. So what happens was, I'm trying to like get the story so this makes sense. So the pandemic, at this point, I remember I got real sick. I was working in New York. So through Dinnerland, I got this job at a nonprofit called the Catal Center. We worked on parole reform. So a lot of the parole reform that Meek Mill is doing with reform, a lot of that, we shaped those that legislation that they're working on. And we passed it already in New York, so they're trying to do something similar in Philly. And ironically, like, so Reform actually wanted to partner with us, the Catal Center, on the legislation that we ended up passing, but they couldn't get the terms together, so we ended up not. But there's a whole, like, I lived like 10 lives. But anyway, so while I was there, I'll never forget, I remember getting real sick one time. It probably was like January of 2020, and this is before it became called COVID. So I had got real sick, and it took me out of work for like 3 weeks. And I'm just like, literally feel like I'm dying. Like I remember when I finally felt better, trying to come back into the office, and I could barely walk, because, you know, like, I'm doing all the subway shit, and it was just, the up and down was too much. And by the time I got to the office, I'm like sweating, and like I don't sweat like that. So I knew something was off. So they sent me back home, and then lo and behold, like a week later, like, oh, COVID. It's like, oh shit, I had COVID. So of course at that point, as you all I'm sure remember, like, then we all go on lockdown, and then it becomes a long-term lockdown. So once it hits the lockdown period, I'm like, oh, I'm going to LA. Like, well, this is over, because we don't know how long this is going to be. Right. And at that point, I was 3 years deep into that role. I was very miserable there, because even though I was great within that role, it just wasn't music. And I feel like the only reason why I landed at that role is because there was no labels or anything trying to hire me. So it kind of was just like, I took the first thing that offered me a salary, and it was that. Right. I also had like a rapport with the company, so it was just like whatever. So once the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, I'm moving to LA, because I'm trying to be in the music industry. And you know, like, as somebody who's green, I'm thinking, you move there, it's gonna happen.
Right. And yeah, of course.
Didn't happen. So I was there for about about 2.5 years. Probably one of the hardest times of my life because I didn't have a job. I was doing Instacart to pay rent, and LA rent is high, so Instacart to pay LA rent is like a struggle.
You're working, yeah, for
You
sure.
working. And it was miserable because it was just like I didn't have free time to do anything. But I will say I still was very intentional about building my relationships in the space in whatever free time I did have. So like I was doing a lot of studio sessions out there with artists and working with them as a vocal producer. Like I did a lot of R&B records out there. So in that sense, I still tried to enrich my mind with music when I could, but it just wasn't making sense. And then I also I'm not going to say names or anything. So I did end up getting a label job for a very short period of time. It was in a boutique label. The label manager at the time was very racist. We had a collision and it ended in, we're firing you. She's like, okay, well, bye.
Yeah.
So imagine like that was actually my first like industry job, and it was just like, damn, like I lasted here for a month and got fired. Jesus Christ. So within that time, I still, because I really had this thing for playlisting, I still was building my own playlisting brands and trying to create playlist series that were well known through just like consistent branding. And it ended up working. Like, granted, none of the playlists ever grew so large, but they were consistent enough to where somebody saw it and was like, yo, Pandora's hiring for this and your playlists are fire. So I'm going to put you in contact with that person and see what happens there. Shout out to Mike, because that's who it was. Mike Hamilton put me in contact with Akeem Bryant at Pandora. And also shout out to Christina. I think her name is still Chris the Cat online, but she has a company called Work, and she actually was the one who hit me first, and it was through Mike. But I always shout them out because I don't think I would be where I'm at without them seeing me do the work online for so many years and then being like, yo, do this. Because the other thing too, and a lot of people don't realize, because playlisting is so like, it's like this smoke and mirrors thing for a long time. I didn't even know the term for it. Like, I'm looking up, like, wanting to be a playlister, I'm looking up playlisting for years, like playlister, playlist, curator. That's not what they call it. And if you are not inside, you don't know this to know what to look for.
Right.
And whole time it's called music programmer. Yeah. Like, to me, that sounds like some fucking tech coding shit. Like, I wouldn't apply for that. You know what I'm saying? So it like, and I really thank God that the stars aligned in that way, because to this day, I don't think if somebody reaches out to me to say, hey, do this, I wouldn't have known it's called music programmer. That's just not, it's not in my language, not around playlisting. So yeah, so I interviewed with Akeem. We did one interview and he hired me, and now I'm here. Yeah.
Man, so remind me how long it's been since you've been at Pandora.
I've been there now going on 4 years. I started in 2022. Yeah.
So you came in as a music programmer?
Yes.
And I mean, like, I know you, like, the specific music programming role you had has changed over the course of the last couple. So like, when did it become like you're like the director of R&B programming?
No, it's so funny. I'm not. It's funny because people always assume this because of my influence in the space, and I'm grateful. I have so much gratitude that that is the perception people have. Like, I really wish the company had that perspective, because but
yeah, we know how it goes.
I'm actually just an assistant. I'm an assistant programmer in R&B, and then on the African Caribbean side, I lead programming.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, so even that is kind of tricky because you can't have a dual role. That's not a thing. But it's like, but if it comes to African and Caribbean music, I lead all of that stuff. But my technical role, I'm assistant programmer.
Got you.
So I started as a coordinator. I was a coordinator for 2 years. And I guess what frustrated me to still the same exact point is the workload was still that of like director level programming. I'm making a lot of decisions. I was doing a lot of partnerships. Like, I did South by my first year there as a coordinator. Like, that was my relationship. And then you think, even in bringing something that big to the company, they didn't give me a promotion until 2 years in. And even that promotion, I'm not gonna get too much into it because I'm not gonna shit on the company. But yeah, that was. But yeah, like I've been able to do some cool things with Pandora. Make a lot of impact. I think what I'm really grateful for is just the opportunity to be able to platform artists who otherwise wouldn't have a platform. And then like
Right,
what
exactly.
you realize is everyone's watching what everyone's doing, and not even in like on a copy paste kind of way, but literally just like we are all peers. So XYZ platform sees that I gave this artist a cover, and now they're like, oh, who's that artist? And now they get a
Uh-huh.
cover there, they get a cover there, and
Yeah.
it's like this chain reaction that I'm grateful to be able to do, because I couldn't do that as just a person who creates playlists for myself. Like, granted,
Right.
people appreciated that because I still had influence online. So it was like if I shared your music within a playlist, like people were checking for that, but it's not the same as a DSP giving you a cover. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? So it's been really dope to be able to like influence the space in that way, where it's like I remember when I first came into Pandora, I don't feel like there was a lot of opportunities for independent talent. Like a lot of the cover support and like the playlist looks were going to more so the major label signed acts, and the more established bubbling independent talent, to where it's now like I came in the game and was like, if your music is good, if you, I don't give a fuck if you got 50 listeners or 10,000 a month, like
Yeah.
you're getting a cover. And I think like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, because it's you. I'm gonna big myself up because I usually don't do this, but I feel like I was able to shift the space in that way. A lot of people give me credit for that, to where it's like now, even at like a Spotify or an Apple Music, like you don't have to be this established artist to get a look anymore. Like in
Mm-hmm.
a big look. Like granted, there's your indie R&B cover, your fresh finds. Like I think at all points you could be an emerging act and get a cover there, but like you can get a really good look now as a very emerging artist because it's normalized now, where it wasn't when I first came into the space.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to give myself complete credit, but I think I had a really big hand in making that shift because it became normalized. It's like every single week you're gonna get a fresh face on covers of these stations. And then when they promote it, I think what people were seeing was how their audiences kind of like rallied behind the support they were getting. And it's like, oh, well, we want that for our platform too.
Right.
So
And
it's like,
like, oh,
yeah, no,
sorry,
go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. The thing, and then like the thing that's interesting about it is that like this is Pandora we're talking about, and I mean like
Mm,
I personally don't use, I haven't used Pandora like that in a long time, and that's not even because like I think it's not even because I think it's bad. I just, you just kind of move on, and things,
mm,
tastes and preferences and places you go change. But like you being in the position you're in at Pandora, you have played a pretty big role in, like just me watching from the outside, like the way Pandora moves in the space seemed to become different when you got there.
mm,
Like the intention, like I mean, like just knowing that you're sitting there, like as a programmer, assistant programmer, whatever your official title is, like I know at least once a week you're sitting there listening to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, and
yeah,
just like figuring out like who needs to be where, like who needs to be put in front of you, like as somebody who's in like a, I mean like I'm not at Pandora or like a major company at all, but like as somebody who's kind of made it their goal to do more or less exactly what you do, and like go out of my way to put people on who aren't huge or even like moderately big, like a lot of the people I
mm,
cover, especially on here, are like pretty, relatively speaking, small.
mm,
And like I think it's like everybody wants to do that sort of thing, but you like people do it, but it can be really difficult to see it take off, or like it can be difficult to see a future doing that for yourself until you see somebody like you programming for artists at a place like Pandora, and then to see it kind of pop up all these other places as the DSPs start to gain even more power. Because like Spotify 5 years ago even isn't Spotify now.
yeah,
Like like, I remember when I first started using Spotify, and like how much the role of it and its place in the ecosystem between music and podcasting has
yeah,
changed. in the last like 10 plus years. And of course, like everybody's gonna big up Spotify because they're like the one when it comes to everything music related. But like being in the position that you're in and having done this as long as you have, like I think about it I think about it in the sense of like I've been thinking about Little Brother a lot and like how kind of like ahead of the curve they were with what they did and like making an album like The Minstrel Show on a major label when people weren't really looking for that kind of music, and they faced a lot of resistance, and like the labels literally didn't know how to market the music. They just didn't know it's not like they didn't like it, they just didn't know what to do with it. But
Mm-hmm.
then like they established, like for other people it's like, oh, I can make this type of music and make it there. Word, okay, like and then like that, and then like that galvanized, and then like Fonte and Pooh go off and do their own independent things, and like that further galvanizes people to realize, oh wait, I can do this on my own, and like I don't,
Mm-hmm.
like not necessarily fuck the majors, but fuck the majors, like on some shit. So it's like, so like it's like I think it is worth pointing out that you were somebody who was doing this early on, and I wouldn't be surprised if you did play a pretty major part in the way these companies recognize what's worth covering, especially in like a playlisting and not
Yeah.
necessarily editorial context, because like it's once again, it's so ephemeral, like a playlist
Mm-hmm.
isn't an article,
Yeah.
like it's like this is a thing that we both understand, but it can be hard to put into words. But just like the
Yeah.
difference between like having somebody set up for a cover on a playlist versus having somebody set up on a cover for a magazine or for a
Yeah.
digital publication, like it's like it's just all these, it can be really hard to cut through the weeds, but people like you made it easier.
Thank
Like yeah, it's worth acknowledging. So
I
like
appreciate that.
yeah, like especially considering that in the general consciousness, Pandora's not with the Apple Musics and the titles and the
Oh,
Spotify's in
absolutely.
in that specific way,
Mm-hmm.
because like Pandora's role has also changed. But like yeah, like as somebody who saw you doing this back in 2015, 16, 17, like you were doing this, like it's not really, it's not refutable. Like you were there, you were doing this way. So yeah,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Seriously.
Nah,
Um,
like it.
I just feel like I've always, it's been like my mantra forever to just create opportunities for talent, that underserved talent. Like they don't have a label, they don't have, maybe don't have a manager. Like there's a lot of times where I'm giving covers to artists who are literally pitching me themselves. They don't have a manager.
Right.
And I think it's also like very rewarding when, because what people don't realize is the trickle down effects of something as simple as giving an artist playlist support, right? Like what I've seen happen more than 50 times in the last 5 or 4 years that I've been here, where artist A will share their music with me. They don't have a manager, they don't have anything set up around them yet. They just know they got to take press shots. The music sounds good.
Yeah.
We program the music pretty heavily. We give it a cover. Then we see the trickle effect across other DSPs. Then within about a month or two, they're signed to either a distro or a boutique label.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year later, they're now signed to a Def Jam. And it's like it happens so often, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's so rewarding because it's like, yo, we did that.
Right.
Really, they
Like
did that.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we helped make that happen, because it's like, and I think that's why I'm like such a big advocate for like, yo, plug these fucking artists, because
Yeah.
the A&Rs are watching. Like they want to know who we are fucking with, because it makes it easier for them to do their job. If an A&R
Mm-hmm.
could take this emerging talent to the label and be like, yo, I know they don't have a million listeners yet, but all the DSPs are fucking with them. They got all these
Yeah.
covers already. That makes the sell easier.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, no, and I did that to a significantly lesser degree when I was running the Lo-Fi Snack Pack over at Audio Mac.
Mm.
Like I still have artists who I put on that playlist reach out to me today and are like, "Yo, like you putting me on there." Like I'm not going to say that like I'm not talking to people who signed a Def Jam, but like people are like that took me to a different place. That put me
Yeah.
in front of people, and it got me an opportunity or two, or even just as simple as like it like you inspired me to keep going. Like I didn't know anybody was listening.
Mm,
And like that ethos has been real important to me. Like I could really chart that back to like the beginnings of my career as a journalist. Like like you, I'm very committed to like putting people on that, like like somebody. I don't I'm not I don't like to name drop if I don't have to, but somebody I like to think of is like somebody like Red Veil. Like I love Red Veil.
mm.
Shout out to Marcus if he's listening. He's yeah, like he's somebody who like I remember. I mean, like he already had a pretty big following by the
Mhm.
time he had put out Learn to Swim. But when I was at Pitchfork, I worked real. I brought them this album, and like they were like trying to make a big push, and I was like, "Yo, like this album is crazy. This kid is gonna be a star. Like it needs to be reviewed." Like I had tried to get it a best new music, and they were like, we're not gonna do that." And I'm like, "Whatever, I tried."
Mm,
But like being able to do that, and then me being like, "Hey, I want to profile him. He needs to be like Pitchfork does a rising series. I'm like, this kid needs to be a rising artist, and I had to fight for that a little bit, and eventually we made it happen, and he's where he is now. Like he just
yeah,
like he played Flognaw and he played Lollapalooza and has gone on his own headlining tour, and like it was I don't really know exactly where I fall in that trajectory, but I think getting him a look at a place like Pitchfork
help.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think it helped, like, and like once again, not even in like a, I
No,
don't
I
want, I
know
don't
what
want,
you mean because this is literally what I was trying to
yeah,
verbalize. Like, I don't ever want to
yeah,
act like I did that. No, I did not
yeah,
do
no,
that.
that's never
I
what
know
it's
I didn't.
about.
You
Yeah,
did that, but
exactly. Yeah,
but I know that I had a role in helping get this stuff across the line. Like,
yeah,
and I think it's okay to say that. I don't think we have to like. I don't think it's egotistical to know like your lob gave them an extra push.
yeah,
That's we're literally an ecosystem. That's the whole point. And I think
right.
when you're in these roles and you're not doing that, you're literally taking up space.
Right. Like either that or like you need to or like being a critic, like having a perspective that maybe people don't always agree with, but like being able to back it up, speak with like say it with your chest, speak from your heart, and make it, and kind of like mold and shape discourse in a way that gets people thinking about something differently. Like that shit is
Mm,
so important. Like and like it all, like that type of stuff and what you do, and like it all feeds back into itself, because this is all just like it all comes down to the root question of what should I be listening to, or
yeah.
why do I like this thing I'm listening to, and it all feeds back into that. And another way you've done that is through reasonable discourse, or excuse me,
Or
reasonable dialogue. Reasonable dialogue. I fucked it up, and I'm sorry.
no, it's
Um,
fine.
but yeah, I just said reasonable discourse. I meant reasonable dialogue with you, Milan, and Jazz. So
Yeah.
like reasonable dialogue, I know started as like a Twitter Spaces thing where like y'all would
Yes.
meet and people would come in. Um, so like of course like that grows and people start to pay attention because like the three of y'all are doing your thing. But when did you realize that reasonable dialogue was good, like that you wanted to turn it into something more substantial, into like a
From the
series?
beginning. Okay, so
Yeah,
this is how I know my idea worked. So Real Dialogue was always going to be a podcast. That was the plan.
yeah,
It was the strategy was we are going to do spaces to build an audience that wants to lock into a podcast every week. So until we build a consistent audience, we're not dropping an episode.
right,
But the whole point was a podcast. Reasonable Dialogue, like we fed it to the audience like it's just going to be a spaces, but our intent was a podcast from day one. Um and it's just funny because now, like looking back on it, I think our intent was it landed because that's like you just laid it out for me, and that's what we wanted y'all to think. We wanted y'all to think it was just like we just gonna hop on spaces and do this every week, and then if it comes becomes something, becomes something. Like it was very intentional. And I think it
right,
also like because initially I was just a producer of the show, and I wasn't gonna be a host because I don't like kind of this is what I was saying earlier. Like a lot of my anxiety kind of like threads through a lot of my shit. and I don't really like public speaking. I don't like panels. I'm like nothing where I have to be the focus of attention.
I
So
feel
I
you.
didn't want to be a host either. But at that point, we were trying to just like develop chemistry as a group. So we were utilizing spaces to do that because you still like it's still a podcast in a sense. It's a live show. It's just
Yeah.
a lot of other people joining on stage with us. So like we had to learn crowd control. We had to learn like each other's style of communication so we're not talking over each other. We had to figure out like are we going to make this a structured conversation where we are going off of a sheet of bullet points or are we going to just hop in here and chat? So like all this stuff ends up becoming a structure for the podcast, but we had to learn it in real time with each other on Spaces. So like that's really what Spaces was for. It was to grow the
Yeah.
community and figure out our flow.
Right. And yeah, like I remember the first time I hopped into one of those rooms with you and Milan and Kia, and just
Mm-hmm.
like seeing the way the conversation went and like the way y'all directed it and how like all three of y'all like all three of y'all had different perspectives, but they all fed into each other, and just like the
Yeah.
Q&A aspect, and just like yeah, like I came in and seeing the way you would like the three of y'all at that time had molded it. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, like in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, you could take this somewhere if you want to, but
Yeah.
you've already got it. But but like this was at a point where it wasn't a thing you were uploading to DSPs,
Mm-hmm.
but like but even in my head, I'm just like, yeah, this is cool. Like if you wanted to keep it here, you could, but you could take it somewhere else. And then eventually the three of y'all did take it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, before we move on to raw form and maybe start to wrap this up, what like talk to me about kind of like establishing the format of reasonable dialogue and like getting it ready to put on to DSPs and turn into a legit podcast.
Um, it was really hard at first because I think I wasn't hard. It was more so just like we all had our own idea of what it should be, like structurally. And I think none of us had enough experience at the time in doing like the kind of podcast we wanted to. Like I know I did a podcast in the past, but that was a hip hop podcast only, and there was just like the entire conversation was based on hip hop, and that's not what we were trying to do. So the concept of reasonable dialogue is like Black culture and Black music through the lens of Black women. So we needed to figure out a way to incorporate culture and not just be talking about music for the whole 2 hours. So essentially we just like we came up with a structure for it as far as just like the segments. And it's crazy because a lot of it came from literally, which is why I said we needed it, the spaces. It's like, well, how do we, when we did our spaces, what was that flow of conversation and like what felt necessary to do on every space that we need to keep in the podcast. And so for one, like one segment that it wasn't even intentionally a segment, it just became one naturally is the homegirl check-in.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of every spaces and the beginning of every episode, we just like, so girl, how was y'all week? Because like naturally, that's what you do. You check in with your friends,
Yeah.
and that became this whole segment because we're thinking it's just gonna be this little quick thing like, oh, it was a great week. I did this, that, and that, and that was that. What about you? But it turns into like a whole conversational piece for each one of us individually because we're talking about like real shit. Like this is what I was toiling with emotionally this week. And then that becomes a conversation. So now we're talking like about our week for about 10 minutes each. And that's now like a 30-45 minute segment.
Yeah.
So now we have the homegirl check-in as a segment. And then we move on to if there's a guest, we'll do an interview for like 30 minutes. Or if there's like a focal topic, like for example, the last episode we put out, we talked about the Charlie Kirk situation.
Of course.
So that
Yeah.
was the focal point, and that would come right after the homegirl check-in. So another thing, kind of being cultural, as far as like we wanted to talk about pop culture and what's happening. We didn't want to do like we were very intentional about not wanting to be this gossipy podcast. So like we run through what's happening in the culture fairly quickly, because we don't want it to be gossipy. So like if something happened with Cardi B, we'll mention it, give our little take real quick, and then next thing. and it's kind of like our flow. And then we close it with this concept that Kia came up with called the set list, where again wanting to just kind of be culturally like all encompassing, we open it up to books, film, music, events, like literally anything that you want to put the listener onto. You share it within your turn during the set
Right.
lists. And I think that's like my favorite part of the show, because it's like, this is all the shit that I like. Check it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be anything regarding anything we talked about. It could be like literally, I put First Wives Club on my set list, the last one.
Right.
So
Yeah. I
like
was looking
shit
through
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, we just wanted to create a space where, and we say it all the time, and it's funny because people say it to us without us having to put it out in the world, but like, we create a space where you feel like you are coming into the living room with the homegirls and just talking about shit that's happening in the culture.
Right.
And that's the basis of the podcast.
Right. And like that's part of the reason why I really enjoyed coming into it in the spaces, and why I enjoy listening to it when I get the chance to hop in from episode to episode. And yeah, like because I didn't say her full name beforehand, I did want to salute Kia Turner, fellow
Yeah,
Jersey
shout
legend.
out to
Much
her.
love. Truly, truly, truly. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm sorry because like yeah, like she was a part of everything before, and I definitely don't want to leave her out.
Mm-hmm.
But I yeah, I mean, like I get, like I get the notion. I was literally just telling myself earlier, just or having to remind myself that like, like this podcast isn't really super geared around current events. Like it can be, like if I feel the need to bring them up, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
like I always want to tailor every experience. I want to tailor every episode to the person I have on the episode, and like we just kind of go from there, and it's very go with the flow. But like
Yeah.
being able to dig into people's interests and likes and dislikes is a thing that like, like as like as black women who work in the media space, like y'all need as many spaces run by you in the right proper like affirmative ways that you can.
Mm.
But b um it just always helps to have a little something thrown in that can let you know everything you need to know about a person through their tastes. And like that's what Real Notes is all about. Like you learn more. I like to think people learn more about the people they have on here based on the type of movies they watch and how that incorporates with their
Mm.
understanding of media and the world. Like that shit matters, like all of
Yeah.
this. Like it can be difficult, like sometimes this can feel frivolous, just considering like how much bullshit's going on in the world. Like like the
Mm.
climate, yeah, like the fucking, like climate change is suffocating the planet. People are censoring fucking talk show hosts, and it's
Yeah.
like I mean, like life was already pretty fucked up as it was, but things are just getting a lot more oppressive under dear leader Donald Trump.
Dear
But
Orange
dear
Man.
fucking bullshit. I
Yeah.
can't stand him. But but it can. But like I say that to say it can be difficult for this to feel important or like it matters. But
Yeah.
like the stuff that we encounter, it informs the type of people we are. Like especially as Black people, because like our
Mm.
like Black culture is world culture for better and for worse, and like this stuff affects everybody.
Mm.
And like whatever way you can communicate that, whether that's through reasonable dialogue or through what I do here, like I'm just always I always hone in on that type of stuff, and it makes me
Yeah.
feel, for lack of a better word, seen. So I'm just
Mm.
like happy that I'm happy to see other people find their own ways to do that and to inject themselves in a way that they might not be able to in their like official role. you
Mm.
know it's
Well,
it's, it's
see,
always,
that's
yeah,
kind of like, to that point.
yeah,
That's where, so raw form comes from that too,
yeah,
right?
exactly, please.
So raw form is, it's just a series, it's a monthly series. It's not going to be like a weekly podcast in the way that reasonable dialogue is. But I feel like for a long time I've been kind of boxed into R&B. Like, and I don't have a problem with it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's because I work in R&B. But I think there was a point in my career where you could come to my socials and it's like you don't know what you're gonna get. You might get a hip hop song that I like. You might get an alternative song. You might get an R&B. Like, you just knew I was the music girl. Now
Right.
it's like there's an expectation of R&B, and like I don't like how limiting that is, because it's like that's not the only thing I listen to. Um, So I wanted to create, and I had to shout out my best friend too, because a lot of it was inspired by our conversations, because he speaks a lot of life over me and the things that I do, and just like sometimes he sees more for me than I might see in the moment, and I really love him for that. But in talking to him, there was this brand that had reached out to me a year ago, and last year was it was a rough year for me. I was not inspired at all the entire year. So I definitely fumbled when they reached out, because I just wasn't inspired. I didn't have anything to offer. So I kind of just like, yeah, we'll collab, and then never happened. So right. In talking to him, I was like, yo, I think I want to do this. I want to circle back to them and do it, because they do playlist series, and they also do like vinyl events at Soho and in Chicago. They do a lot of cool shit. So, but they're known for they lock in with people who they think are dope at curating music. You don't even have to be a curator. If they see you posting music and they think that it's dope, they will hit you up to do a playlist. So originally it was just going to be that. And then it just grew into this like whole, I'm like, I want to do more than just a playlist, because I'm already doing, I want to do something else. So I was like, well, can we do a year-long thing instead of just a one-off? And they're like, yeah, we haven't done that before, but we'd love to see how that what that could be. And then considering it being a year-long thing, I didn't want it to just be a playlist, because that's kind of like, that's whack. I don't want to just do playlists every month. So I came up with this concept of, because another thing me and my friend talk about a lot is trying to build up my Instagram a bit more, to where I'm kind of showcasing who I am rather than just posting selfies all the time. Because literally for like years, it's literally just been selfies and here's my accomplishments. And a lot of that has been like due to like a lot of insecurities. Like I for a long time, I didn't like how I looked. I was really overweight. So I didn't want to post like full figure images. So you just was going to get a selfie, because I never didn't think I was pretty. So like you'll see the selfie, but you're not going to see everything else. And that gets boring though, because it's like it's the same angle every photo. So in talking to him about just like how to grow my page, he's just like, yo, people post your tweets all the time. So like, why don't you just talk more? Like, talk about the shit that you think. Like, people like what you think. So it's just like, that's a great idea. Which would be a great concept for like a short form thing. So I would pick one topic that maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be from Twitter, but something that I talked about on Twitter, or something that I've been dwelling on. I'll just ramble about it for anywhere between like 5 to 10 minutes, and then that's the podcast. It's me rambling about a focal topic, and then it starts the playlist. So now, I don't think you do it before, but now in Spotify you can add a podcast to a playlist. So it will play. Yeah. So the top of the playlist is the podcast. So it's 7 to 10 minutes of me rambling about something, and then it goes into the flow of music that I selected for the month. And the flow of music is all genres. So it's like, here's me in an audio experience. It's me talking about the shit that's on my mind for 10 minutes, and then an hour of all the different music that I like.
Yeah.
And that's raw form. Me in raw form.
That's so fire. Like, I mean, like, even considering the I didn't realize you could do that with the playlisting and the
I didn't
songs.
either.
Like,
I just tried shit and it worked, and I was like, oh,
that's dope. Wow. I mean, like, I might need to keep that in mind. Like, now I can like I can make a playlist and have like artist music. Yeah, that's you just put me on. Thank you. But like, I know like that's pretty fresh, and you're really starting to flesh this out a bit, and like once again, it's like it's tough and scary because it's a first time thing.
Yeah.
But like it feels like a natural extension of what you're doing on Reasonable Dialogue. It's literally a combination of what you're doing at Pandora and Reasonable. It's just
literally yeah.
So yeah, like that. Like it's like being in this space, you constantly have to figure out ways to compress and adapt and fit yourself into all these different forms and holes and whatever. But like it's just really cool to see you still doing it. And
Thank you.
yeah, like I'm gonna get into the sappy shit in a minute before we sign off. But last question, if your life was a movie, Tatiana, what would it be about?
Oh God. If I had to be completely honest, because I'm just like a lover girl, it probably would be a romantic comedy. Because I feel like my life is a fucking romantic comedy. Like a bunch of joke ass niggas.
Hey man.
I'm doing better now. out though. My discernment, you know, when you deal with a lot of jokey joke shit, you sharpen your discernment. So I'm great now. But if my life was a movie, it'd probably be like a movie. It'd probably be Brown Sugar-esque.
Oh yeah, I was gonna like when I asked you the question, I was thinking like she's probably gonna say like Brown Sugar. Yeah.
Like Brown Sugar. But with a music programmer.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I love that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, nah, man, like them joke niggas are fucking legion. They're everywhere. You know, like they're everywhere and they're loud. But either way, you know, like that, like, you know, like I love that answer. It suits everything we talked about so perfectly. And just like, yeah, I mean, like, thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to come and kick it for like an hour and 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nah. Like,
I wish we had longer. To be honest, if I didn't have something to do, I probably would stay on here for like another 30. I really enjoyed this conversation. I also love, like, I haven't been able to tell you, but the concept of like intertwining film into this, I just think it's so cool because I don't really like. I wouldn't think to hear a hip hop artist or whoever come onto a podcast that has like this theme of film, talk about the favorite films and just different things within film, and then tie that to their careers. Like, it's just like, what you're doing here is really cool.
Thank you.
And when you said the thing about just like it could feel frivolous, like it's my hope that you at a certain point relinquish that train of thought, because it's like we're humans. Like this, like at the end of the day, this is like the shit that carries us through life. Like we are all watching movies. That is how we, like, it's like an escape for everyone. Everybody watches movies to escape in some, like, maybe not all the time, but like I don't think there's anyone who doesn't watch movies. And like to your point, like this kind of humanizes people. It's like, yo, like I have other interests outside of my job. I watch movies.
Right. That's exactly it. And like, I never, you know, like, cause like I'll have people come on here and they'll be like, oh, do I need to, like, I'm not a cinephile. And I'm like, you don't have to be. Like, it's just about your yeah, I mean, like, have you seen a movie? Like, did it affect you? Boom. There you go. Like, that's all you need. But no, it means a lot to hear that, especially considering that, like, we've been like running in the same circles for basically a decade. And yeah, like, and like, once again, like, just to reemphasize like what you've been able to do and been able to take to a place as big as Pandora, and like you having this, you being so mindful of artists who aren't the hugest, and like work, like anybody who goes out of their way to platform people who aren't the biggest artists is somebody I'm always going to be like we're kin, you know, like that's just like, like I've loved the way you've done it ever since Hometown Heroes when I first got tapped in. And it's just like, you know, like good people getting to good positions is always what I want to see. So just like congratulations and like thanks for everything you do, and thanks for just, I don't know, just thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being an amazing peer and always pouring love into me. I feel like you're one of the people over the last 10 years who, even with not ever meeting face to face, like you pour so much love into me, like all this. And it just be random sometimes, like, hey T, just checking in, like, and you may not realize it, but sometimes I be needing that. No. So thank you.
Nah, yeah, like I try to check in on as many people as I can because this shit's important. It's like it's crushing this industry, and like just checking in on each other is the least we could do. So, you know, least I could do, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.